Soldier's account of the Black Angel, who came out of the flames. It was late afternoon in Gaza, a mission of sweat and tears. Tension had already become part of my daily routine, and I had gotten used to it. Without tension, without fear, there is room for mistakes. And in a battle, a soldier like me, an ordinary man, unfortunately becomes cold and faces whatever stands in his way. That's what I used to think. I was on the front line to protect the arrival of supplies. The local enemy troops knew the area very well and had the ability to hide, as if they were men of shadows. They had never been so close, yet they seemed invisible. The shots came from dark directions and buzzed from near and far, creating a symphony that made my eardrums vibrate in a disturbing setting. I took cover as best as I could, behind the rubble of an old stone house, in the middle of the madness, explosions, and dust. I was thinking only about surviving. The sounds were interrupted by the incomprehensible screams of the opponents, and I had no idea that I was about to see, as if through a spiritual magnifying glass, the cruel reality of the place, forgotten by the rest of the world. My name is Thomas Walker. I am an American soldier, and you can simply call me Thomas. What I am about to tell you happened on November 15, 2014. During what was supposed to be a peacekeeping mission in Gaza. We were an international force trying to mediate conflicts and protect civilians. But that day, everything got out of control. An attack by extremists turned the peace mission into one of the most tense operations I have ever witnessed. It was one of those days when the sky seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 storms. Even in the middle of the dust clouds of that arid place, you could still see a confused sky, somewhere between blue and gray. The silence after the shooting is always the most disturbing part. It is in that moment that the mind begins to process the chaos. When your ears stop ringing and you can hear your own thoughts again. It was exactly 1807 when everything went quiet. I remember the time because I instinctively looked at my watch, a habit I developed to keep myself anchored to reality. The temperature began to drop dramatically. In the desert, the transition from day to night is like going from an oven to a freezer in a matter of minutes. The cold came with strong winds, and I felt goosebumps on my skin, as if the air itself was loaded with a strange, heavy and cold energy in that place. That was when I saw what would become a sign. A small, thin white cat, its face dirty, was walking among the ruins with a calmness that defied all logic in that scene. Its blue eyes shone like sapphires against the last orange light of the setting sun. Disappearing on the horizon, it stopped right in front of me and stared at me for several long seconds. I felt as if it were a sign. But a sign of what? I had no idea. It was as if it wanted to send me a message that my limited mind could not understand. The look in that little creature's eyes carried both sorrow and purity, something I really needed to see. As the first stars began to appear in the sky, thick dark clouds gathered on the horizon. In a matter of minutes, what seemed to be a calm night turned into a stormy sky. The wind howled through the ruins as if it carried the laments of 1,000 lost souls. The temperature dropped several degrees below zero. It was strange, but not impossible in that region. During intense storms, my team and I were searching through the ruins of the destroyed place for a safer spot to protect ourselves. Suddenly, the strong wind brought a cloud of desert dust so intense that it rose from the ground like water and moved like sharp waves. And then lightning started to cut across the sky, lighting up the devastated landscape in terrifying flashes. Between one bolt and the next, I think it was on the third flash that I saw it. In the middle of the black, magnetic cloud, a colossal figure emerging from the smoke and ruins. I saw a man, if I can even call him that. He was about 3 meters tall, a dark, shadowy figure in black garments. He wore a chest plate that looked like lead, with a dull sheen that seemed to absorb the light itself. His clothes were dark, and straps like leather moved around him like living shadows. There was a grayish shine in his decorations, like black leather gleaming under the flashes of the storm. Everything happened very fast, maybe just a few seconds, but to me it felt like an eternity. It was as if time had stretched, and every detail was burned into my memory forever. In that moment, I could only think, what is this? What kind of man is that? With time, I began to wonder if he might be an angel. But what kind of angel? He didn't seem to have wings. Instead, there were shadowy extensions, like tentacles of darkness, moving around him. They looked as if they were made of the night itself. And his eyes burned with an intense, overwhelming feeling of fury and sadness like nothing I had ever seen on this earth. If that was an angel, maybe it was, but not like the ones painted in the churches of my childhood. He came closer, stepping slowly, yet at the same time almost gliding over the rubble. I felt myself growing weak. I could feel the weight of his presence. Each step emanated an energy that pressed down on me. The ground seemed to tremble lightly, as if the gravity of that place was pulling my body, my knees, downward. It was unbearable. My body became incredibly heavy, and everything hurt. I fell to my knees, completely drained of strength. It was as if the earth itself recognized his authority. Then he showed me something that completely shattered my world. First, he pointed at the white cat, which was still there, calm, and still among the rubble. The little animal didn't seem affected by his presence at all. In that moment, I understood it wasn't a coincidence. That small creature was there as a sign, a reminder of the innocence lost in the middle of the chaos created by men. Then he pointed at a little child who was sleeping forever beside his dog. They had left this world embraced in their final moment. My heart broke, but the worst was yet to come. After that, he pointed at another lifeless body, a young man, a young soldier whom I myself had wounded during the conflict. He was just a kid, maybe the same age as my younger brother. In that instant, a turbulent wave of unbearable emotions hit me like a tsunami. It was as if all the pain in the world converged into my chest. I fell with my face to the ground. I could hear my comrades shouting at me to fall back, to get out of there. But I couldn't move. I started to cry, even though on the outside it was almost silent. Inside, my heart was being torn apart, and tears streamed down uncontrollably from my eyes, coming from the deepest part of my soul. It felt as if I was finally understanding the true weight of each life lost, of each decision made in a few seconds that changed realities forever. Then that man, that figure that I would later call the Angel of Revolt, lowered his face, twisted in anger, while tears ran down and evaporated like liquid fire. They slid down his face but disappeared quickly. He raised his arms to the sky and released a sound like a growl, but without opening his lips. That sound echoed through the dark desert mountains. It wasn't just pain. It was pure revolt, a raw indignation, maybe against human cruelty. The thunderous being turned around and walked toward the thick, dark smoke. A lightning bolt tore through the sky with a deafening violence. When the light faded, he was gone, and I passed out. I didn't see anything else. No one else saw him. No one understood what had happened to me. But everyone heard a sound like a roar that seemed to be a growl or a trumpet-like scream. Only I saw the man. Was it Gabriel, Michael, Samael, or even Lucifer, showing compassion for the lost children of the earth? These questions would haunt me for a long time. I could feel, in that moment, a desperate plea, as if the being were begging the Creator himself for permission to intervene, to destroy those who caused so much suffering to the innocent. But something was stopping him. It was as if an invisible barrier kept him trapped between dimensions, able to watch our reality, but unable to touch it or intervene directly. In that moment, I understood that there are terrible forces in this world that neither we nor the angels themselves can endure. I woke up in the infirmary 3 days later. My comrade Christian told me he had found me passed out in the middle of the rain, soaked and showing signs of severe hypothermia. The sudden drop in temperature combined with the freezing rain had been enough to make me collapse. When I told my comrades what I had experienced, they were respectful. But it was clear they believed it had been a hallucination caused by thermal shock and post-traumatic stress. The brain does strange things when it's under extreme pressure, the doctor said. Weeks later, during a patrol through the city streets. I discreetly looked for some locals to ask questions and see if anyone knew anything. At a simple, improvised street market, I joined a small circle of people talking and met an old man, a jewelry seller and former local guerrilla fighter. He was very thin and missing a few teeth, but his face carried both kindness and mystery at the same time. It was one of those natural conversations that happen when soldiers interact with locals. He mentioned that he had seen a similar creature years before. He described a huge being that appeared during storms, crying in rage for the victims of the conflicts. "It is the terrible angel of death who comes to harvest souls and tears," the old man said, his eyes filling with tears. "He appears only when human suffering becomes unbearable even for the heavens." He looked me in the eyes, already watery with emotion, and nodded, as if he knew that I had seen it too. The old man finished his speech and disappeared into the crowd of vendors. Years went by, and that event never left my mind. I tried not to tell many people, because they would easily dismiss me. But I, and only I, know what I saw that day. Restless, I kept searching for answers, and one day, browsing the internet, I found a fascinating thesis about paranormal phenomena and atmospheric electricity. The theory suggested that lightning and storms, because they carry immense electromagnetic energy, could create temporary or energetic fissures that allow glimpses into other dimensions. It made a lot of sense to me, but it still didn't explain how I had seen the being. Could it be that the energy of lightning enabled the transition between worlds? Could lightning be an energetic bridge allowing beings like angels or extraterrestrials to break through dimensional barriers? Atmospheric electricity, combined with the intense emotions of moments of conflict, could create such a temporary fissure. That's what I thought as I tried to understand it all. Today, years later, after many sessions with psychologists and psychiatrists because of war trauma, I have been conditioned to think that what I saw was just a vision created by my mind. Confused, I no longer know what was real and what was just the product of my mental state at that time. Trauma, hypothermia, thermal shock, all of that can indeed explain visions and hallucinations. But I am absolutely certain of two things. I saw the white cat staring at me, as if it knew something I still didn't understand. And I saw that immense man in a black breastplate rising from the shadows between flashes of lightning. The white cat, over time, I began to understand what the local people always said about them. Some say they try to warn us about peace. Others believe they are a symbol of human selfishness, of how men start conflicts without thinking about themselves or the innocent animals that become silent victims of this human madness. Maybe the cat really was a sign, but I don't know if it was real either. Maybe it was the first touch of something supernatural, trying to show me the truth about that young man I had wounded, about that child and his dog. But there is something else that drives me crazy. The why. Why? What forces move men to take up arms against other men they don't even know? Why destroy entire cities and steal peace from those who just want to be in their homes with their families or in their warm, safe shelters with their animals? These are questions that may be even more disturbing than the appearance of the holy angel of revolt, the name I gave to the being. What I know is that that night, real or imaginary, left me with one hope. Today, I believe that we are not alone in the midst of so much suffering. There is something greater watching, carrying the weight of our pain when we ourselves can no longer bear it. The angel of revolt, whoever he may still be out there, waiting, appearing in dark storms to those who have eyes to see and a heart to understand. And maybe, just maybe, his tears are the first step toward the redemption we all seek so desperately. I am Thomas Walker, and this was my supernatural account as a soldier in battle. If you've ever seen something supernatural, leave a comment. I'll reply and I'd love to hear your story, and it might even appear here. If you've made it this far, comment and leave a like. Subscribe for more stories.